Hey guys, Dennis here. For the next few days, I'll be uploading the videos which I've made before going away, and the new ones will be uploaded as I finish them. Now enjoy the video without further interruption. I'm 23 years old and work as a receptionist for a dental clinic. Having graduated from college only recently, I don't own much and my bank account balance has fewer digits than I like. As you might expect, my apartment isn't located in the most ideal part of my city, and therefore commuting to and from work can get quite scary at times. Last week, as I was going home, I had just gotten off the bus and still had another 10 minutes of walk to get to my apartment. In the past, my boyfriend would have picked me up at the bus station, but he became an ex about a month ago, and so I do what I can to feel safer. By safer, I mean I've got a canister of pepper spray in my bag at all times. It may not sound like much, but if these things can get a bear to back off, then it's good enough for me. So I get off the bus and walk for about 5 minutes when I notice a guy trailing about 10 steps behind me. Did he get off the bus with me? I didn't see him before, and so right off the bat, he represents a potential danger for me. I walk slightly faster and at the same time reach into my bag for the pepper spray. I got it in my hand and it makes me feel a tiny bit safer. A minute passes and I'm thinking that I was again overreacting to nothing. The corner of Main Street and Irving Avenue appears, and so I take left onto Irving to get home. Or at least I must have, because seeing Main and Irving is the last thing I remember before waking up in my own apartment, tied up and gagged. I didn't realize it right away, but a man was sitting right beside me when I woke up. I tried to scream, but it was nearly impossible due to the fact that I could hardly breathe. The man put his finger over his mouth, suggesting or more like commanding me to shut up. I did, right away. He began speaking, but before I tell you what he told me, I think it's important to describe to you how he spoke. Do you know how you log out while calling a customer service line and you happen to speak to someone very friendly and professional? Now tie in that personality with the voice of Morgan Freeman, a voice that has a very soothing and calming effect on people. That's more or less how the man sounded and spoke. This is what he told me. I've been watching you grow into a woman for the past 5 years. You were perfect when I saw you, but you've changed into something disgusting and deplorable. Disappointment couldn't begin to describe how I feel right now. I truly want you to know that. I'm going to come back to you in 5 years. I expect to see changes, a transformation that will return you to your perfect former self. Counting the date from today, you can expect me from year 5 through 6. I will choose a night, a perfect night for us to reunite. I want to see the beautiful, pure, and perfect Blair again. If you fail to meet my expectation, then please know that I'll have to erase your existence. You deserve to exist as a perfection or nothing. I will leave you now. Once I leave, pull your arms toward your core as hard as you can, and the bindings will eventually loosen up. I'll see you in 5 years. I love you, Blair. Don't ever forget that. He left right after he said those words, and right away I began to struggle to free myself. I panicked at first and flailed my limbs in all directions to get free. It didn't work. It took me a few minutes to calm myself down, but I did, and I pulled my arms toward my core as the man instructed. I used all my strength and had to pull several times, but after a while, the rope loosened up as if someone had cut it. I definitely wasn't the first person that he must have tied up in such manner. I obviously went to the police afterward and was told of obvious things I had expected. The man left nothing in the house, not even a hair. Identifying him was impossible. As for the events to unfold when the 5 years is up, I don't expect the police to keep me protected for 365 days from year 5 through 6. In fact, I know so because the cops had plainly told me that was impossible. The only thing they could tell me with some certainty is the likelihood of the man being someone that I had interacted with at some point in the past. I've tried to make sense of what he wanted from me, exactly what he meant by me having been perfect at the age of 17. The truth is, I've got no clue. A part of me thinks that he's doing this to make me live in fear. For what reason, I don't know. As for what I could have done to make him want to harm me, I've got no clue of that either. I've got a crucial decision to make in the next 5 years. My brother's friend, who is an FBI agent, tells me to go completely dark and to disappear for a while. He says he'll help me and also sees that as my only choice. I don't have the best life ever, but it's not so bad that I want to leave my family and friends behind for next however long years to evade something that might or might not come. I just have no idea what I'm going to do. "2 p.m. and in the middle of a bustling city, I was walking toward my dorm after having lunch with my best friend. A cute guy walked out of the same restaurant I had lunch at, and he was right behind me. He smiled at me a few times during lunch, and initially, I thought maybe he wanted to get my number when he followed me out. But 2 blocks later, it seemed more likely that it was only a coincidence that we stepped out at the same time. Disappointed and with my ego bruised just a little, I kept walking and looking forward to a rare afternoon nap. I was a block away from my dorm when I heard someone scream not far behind me. I did what anyone else would do in that situation, and that was to turn around to see what happened. As it turned out, it was just a woman who had her heels stuck in the metal grate on the sidewalk. The thing is though, something else caught my eyes right away. Remember the cutie who followed me out from the restaurant? Well, that guy was right behind me and kept walking toward me as if to say hi. I was wrong and sort of right at the same time because what he actually did was to kiss me. Now, before you go screaming why I didn't just move away, that's not so easy when you're not expecting for something so crazy to happen. I did push against him right away, but it was strong and he kept trying to kiss me. I screamed for help, but he pushed my head against his chest and in between the openings of his jacket. I'm 5'3" and barely weigh in at 110 pounds. The guy was at least 6 feet tall, and although he wasn't that buff, he's still a guy and much stronger than me. I thought I was somehow transported into the Twilight Zone or something, because I kid you not a single person helped. Man or woman, they just walked past me. This was all happening in the middle of one of the busiest parts of St. Louis at 2 in the afternoon and where everyone could have a clear look at what was happening to me. I felt desperate as the man tried to drag me toward God knows where, but I was still struggling and fighting him off. That's when I heard the voice of an angel as another man shouted, "Hey, get your hands off of her." He was an older gentleman and was noticeably much weaker than the creep, but he tried with all his might to help me get free. It was only then when 2 other men jumped into action and the creep had no choice but to run away. We called the cops and all, but the investigation didn't go too far. The creep was captured on CCTV from 3 different angles, but none of them showed his face clearly. What scares me the most about that day is how little people care about anything that doesn't involve them. But at the same time, I won't act all high and mighty by saying that I would have for certain helped out another woman in my situation. Until I'm put in the same situation and I'm able to do the right thing, I understand that I can't stand shoulder to shoulder with the true heroes who choose to do the right thing in the face of adversity. But even when you consider all those things, I still think we're living in a morally bankrupt world where people have simply stopped caring. To me, the thought of that, it's a lot scarier than the creep I had to fight off on that fateful afternoon. 2 months ago, I was laid off from a very repetitive clerical job. I hated working for that company, but nonetheless, it was still a job which allowed me to pay the rent. I searched for a new job right after I was let go, but office jobs were hard to come by, and my only option seemed to be either retail or fast food. I was about to give up the search and settle for a job at a local coffee shop when I received a call from a company, one that never called me back after an interview. They were offering $25 an hour, 9 to 6, 5 days a week, and not much else. The offer was actually a lot more generous than I thought I'd get, and so I said yes, then began working for them from the following day. The first time I was at this company for an interview, it was conducted in a large room on the first floor. It's not too far from the main lobby, and it didn't look much different from any other interior of a commercial building. However, things were very different on the upper floor where the official works were being conducted. My cubicle was located on the 5th floor, toward the right side of the wall once you get off the elevator. The entire floor was an open space, and the working area was divided by chest-high cubicles. All 4 sides of the walls were decorated with paintings that looked very expensive in my eyes. I'm not an artist, and so I can't be sure, but the frames of all the drawings were thick and lavishly decorated with metal accents and shiny stones. My logic was, if the frames are that expensive, then the drawings have definitely got to be crazy expensive. So that right away stood out, and it was creepy as hell. It wasn't so much that I was bothered with the unfamiliarity of such office setting, but my dislike had a lot more to do with the paintings themselves. I think they call this style of paintings abstract art. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what, but they generally reminded me of blood and gore. Like I said, I'm not much of an artist. I've never been affected by paintings in this manner. For the most part, I would just walk past them and often didn't even know they were there. That's how little I care about art, but the paintings in that office, they were truly disturbing. In any event, it was the first day, and during lunch hour, I wanted to introduce myself properly to those who worked near my cubicle, and so I approached the man working right next to me. I went up to him, forced a big smile on my face, and said hi. The reaction that I got was certainly not one that I expected, because he just looked at me for a few seconds, got up and left his cubicle without saying anything. I said to myself, let's hope the worst is over, and was about to approach another person when someone tapped on my shoulder. I turned around, and it was a woman who looked to be around my age. She looked friendly and normal, much like the 99% of the population. She said, "Don't bother with these people. I got started here a week before, and I can save you the pain right here, right now. These people, they don't talk." She introduced herself as Sammy, and we went out together for lunch. As the days went by, I learned through experience what Sammy said was true. People in this office don't talk. It's not so much that they seem bothered when you talk to them. To put it simply, they just don't care. Sammy was the only person whom I spoke to, and she was also the only person I could ask questions other than my supervisor. But that all changed a couple of weeks into the job. Looking back, I began to notice the changes in her from the midpoint of my first week. But I just didn't realize it because I didn't know her all that well at the time. The change was gradual as she spoke less and less through the course of the week. Then my second week got started, and she seemed very distant compared to when I first met her. She no longer smiled much and wouldn't initiate the conversation as she would before. I could still ask her questions and she'd answer them, but that was the extent of our interaction. I thought maybe she had figured out that I had a thing for her, but with time, I began to realize that the changes were far more profound than that. Her eyes were lost in thoughts just like the others. Watching my coworkers go about their business in the office was really no different than watching people sleepwalk. Maybe it's the job. I mean, all we do at work is to read stacks of papers. which contain random scribbles and weird journals. They tell us to read them, sort them into different categories, and lastly, we're supposed to write a short essay about the things we've read on each day. I continued to work on the job for a month and a half because, for one, I needed the money, but also because I didn't want to quit before I could find another, more suitable situation. I quit as soon as I found a job at a law firm, and it's been a little over a week since I had last seen Sammy. I should mention that by the time I quit the job, Sammy was really no different than all the other workers at the company. She looked completely out of it. I very much like my new job and finally feel like I found a place to work for many years to come. Things have been great for a few days, until 4 days ago, I received a call from my old job saying that they wanted me back. They offered $50 an hour and several other perks, but I declined the offer without even giving it a thought. You know how the old saying goes, when it seems too good to be true, it probably is. I thought that was the end of it, but 3 nights ago before going to bed, I saw 2 men wearing dark suits standing across the street from my apartment. I live on the 3rd floor, and the windows facing the front side of the building gives me a clear line of sight to where those men were standing. They were looking in the direction of my apartment, and when I pushed my head out the window for a better look, they looked straight at me. I was creeped out, of course, and so I went back inside, then pulled on the cord to put the blinder down. I just went to bed and didn't call the cops or anything, because it's not like you can arrest someone for looking at an apartment. I wanted to ignore it and push it out of my mind, but the people from my old job are resilient if anything. They called me back yesterday morning and sweetened the pot even more for me to come back. I told them no, but the 2 men from the other night showed up again last night. They called me yet again this morning, but I didn't answer the call. My best friend told me to stay at her place for a while, and I'm tempted to do so, but at the same token, I want to see for myself if those 2 men would come back again tonight. I might call the cops if they do come back, but honestly, I don't know what good that would do. I've got no clue what I got myself into by taking that job. The people were weird, the work we did was weird, and things are even weirder after quitting the job. I seriously have no idea how to get these people off my back. Really, what do I do?